All right, friends, it's time to explore the very watery sign that is Cancer through a makeup look. I'm really excited for this one because I'm a Cancer moon and I feel like a lot of the characteristics really resonate with me. And I'm very excited because I'm going to be using the new Glaminatrix Timeless Tones palette for this one. There's a couple shades in this palette I've been really drawn to that I think are going to be so great for this look. One of which is this one, Expensive. It's kind of like an iridescent blue. I love these kinds of topper shades. And then there's Exquisite over here. Also a blue, but a little bit more pigmented. Mental note to put the lighting on lower to really show off the shimmers later. And today, instead of doing an intro where I talk about the sign and then get into the look, I'm gonna do my full face today. I'll do my base makeup and talk through some characteristics of Cancer that feel like they're gonna be relevant for this look. And for the complexion, I'm thinking something a little bit warmer, kind of rosy brown, so that these blues are really gonna pop against it. So I'm excited, let's get into it. I'll be starting out with the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. Still working my way through this one as I use it as a dupe for the Milk Hydro Grip. I do prefer the Hydro Grip, but this one is nice too. Just a great way to prep for foundation without like something really thick, you know? And I use it on the eyelids as well, so I do quite like it for eyeshadow too. And then I'm going to go into the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the color corrector. I really like using it right at the inner corner here, especially. It doesn't have to be about getting a bunch of product under the eye, but like brightening that corner as well as this corner just makes such a difference before the foundation. Now, the actual mythology of Cancer has to do with one of the stories of Hercules as he was battling the monster called the Hydra. And Hera, the goddess Hera, really had it out for Hercules for some reason. I mean, I feel like a lot of these myths of Greek mythology involve a lot of jealousy and a lot of that caused by like Zeus sleeping around a lot. From what I understand, Zeus slept with a mortal, and even though Hera was his wife, and Hercules was the son of that mortal affair. But that was Zeus all the time, so I don't know why she had it out for Hercules specifically. But anyway, as he was battling the Hydra, Hera sent this crab to distract him, hopefully to the point that he'd be killed by the monster. But alas, Hercules spotted the crab and crushed the crab. And for the crab's bravery, Hera immortalized him, her, as the constellation Cancer. So I feel like this myth is fun, but it's not necessarily relevant to a makeup look the way I felt like the Gemini twins had some relevancy. So I'm going to be focusing more on the traditional characteristics of Cancer for this look. So right now I'm using my Merit foundation, and this is the shade Chiffon. I like to do this kind of tiger stripe thing and then slowly buff it out in small strokes rather than, you know, all over the face. I just find having the product more focused and then buffing it gets a pretty good coverage. Poor Cancer the crab, eh? Now, Cancer, the sign, is ruled by the moon. So immediately when you think of the moon, there's definitely a lot of emotional qualities involved, intuition. I think of women too a lot when I think of the moon. And it's a water sign, of course, and obviously the symbol's a crab. And actually, Silky Mochi taught me this recently about Cancer, is that you should think of the way a crab, its body is this hard shell that protects its soft innards. So Cancers are associated with being very emotional. And, you know, for some reason, our society tends to associate being emotional with being a bad thing. Like when you say someone's very emotional, it's like inherently there's something as if there's something wrong with that. So it's like almost like Cancers get a bad reputation for their being emotional and sensitive. You know, I'm taking some inspiration from the crab in terms of getting this armor around yourself to protect that emotional feeling. So as Silky Mochi taught me with my Cancer moon and how I can honor it in my style, she's like, you may often turn to garments that kind of cloak or shroud, and how it makes you feel more at home. And so like, yeah, for me, an outfit never feels complete without that shrouded feeling, like a protective armor like the crab has. So I love to think about that sort of dual nature of Cancer and the symbol, in that they're associated with being emotional and intuitive and really heartfelt, but then having this protective barrier, whether to one's own detriment or to just protect oneself from this world that thinks being emotional is a bad thing, you know? Now I'm gonna go in with the Rare Beauty bronzer. Sorry if I'm using this all the time lately, but I love it. Fair Olive Friends. I actually think this is a great shade for us. It's technically cool tone, but it doesn't read as cool tone to me. So that's why I think there's something in it that's very complementary, potentially, to an olive undertone. Like, it's not too vivid, you know? It's got that mutedness. Fair Olives sometimes crave from their shades. So anyway, just shout out to this shade and formula. I use it like every day. And I'm really gonna bronze up the face. Now, I looked at the website Chani Nicholas, who's quite a famous astrologer. She had a great way of putting some of this Cancer energy. She said, Cancers crave like emotional connections, and once they bear it all, may have to kind of retreat. So she says, after bearing it all, the crab naturally begins to search for the appropriate amount of padding, structure, and rooting to safeguard its rich emotional gifts. They can assume the form of a physical fortress, such as a home, or an energetic or psychological boundary, like limiting stressful social plans, which just really reminds me of how I have to like protect my inner peace a lot. And when I don't, and I like overextend myself with social plans and stuff, like I really need to retreat for like a long time. A couple years I worked this music festival like on site all month of July, and was very in a front facing role as well as a creative role. And after that month of July, I had to take like all of August to recover. So if this resonates with you, maybe you got some Cancer energy. Now, I gotta say just something about astrology and zodiacs. Like, I don't necessarily think like every Cancer is like this, right? Sometimes I think of the zodiac and its characteristics more in the same way I think of like a style system, as more of like these energetic patterns or emotions and symbols we can tune into. And when there are qualities that you can find more that you relate to, like it probably is more, you know, those in-depth chart readings that professional astrologers really understand, like, and can find some more patterns. But like on the baseline layer of it all, I feel like anyone can take inspiration from these traits and symbols and what are essentially stories and mythologies, right? And I think that's what's so fun about it. And it doesn't have to be taken too seriously. So basically, even if you aren't a Cancer or have any Cancer placements, I'm sure there's a lot of people who will relate to some of this. And that symbol of the crab and its protective armor is just so interesting. And a great thing to bear in mind potentially for your own mental well-being, especially if you're an introvert, or channeling it in to style. For blush, I'm going in with the KJH brand. This is Soft Raisin. So I feel like with my look today, it really is about leaning into that emotional energy of Cancer, like especially when I go in with the eyes and the blue shimmer. And then kind of the rest of it being this like soft feeling look, like nothing too bold or punchy, but something that'll go like hopefully rather harmoniously with my complexion and just feel also a little summery because this is summertime for me anyway. And I feel like this looks really nice with blue eyeshadow. This type of shade. And then just a little powder to set everything down because it was all cream products there. And it is summer. And I'm going to an exercise class after this. And there's also another thing that Chani wrote that I thought was really interesting and not something I'd really heard before written about a zodiac sign. She said, Cancer placements feel called to weave compassion into all of their relationships. They are also uniquely connected to the gift of memory and may be driven to preserve their own or others' histories or stories. Simply put, they are here to be the emotional glue that holds people, communities, and the world together. I thought that was really lovely because, yeah, we do need that emotional connection to things to connect with each other. Honestly, we probably need some Cancer energy in governments right now. Am I right? For liner, I'm going to go in with Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the shade Cool Brown. I don't find it that cool, actually. But I guess browns are inherently warm, so it's more like a neutral. And then I'm going to use this same cheek shade on my lips. Pretty. And then Lancome sent over their Juicy Tubes, that re-release of that like 2000s lip gloss. And they sent me a couple shades, and like when the moment I smelled it and put it on, I remembered I had these in like grade 7. So classic. I think they're plumping too. I gotta say they're very sticky though. So it's not something I want to wear necessarily when I go to my fitness class. I might take it off, but for this look. And I think this shade will go really nicely. This shade is Cocoa Macchiato, and it kind of smells like Cocoa Puffs or something. Okay, time for the grand moment, doing the eyeshadow. Now I think I will build kind of an eye that has a warmer neutral base. This is a cool tone palette actually, so I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe go more neutral. So I'm going to go in with this shade first. Vogue. Come on, Vogue. Let's just see how that translates. Yeah, I'm going to put that on the outer corner of the eye, and let's start adding some dimension here, really. You can really see how that is quite a neutral brown. Or like even a cool brown. You know how this was saying it's a cool brown? This to me more looks like one. And as I said, like the goal is kind of to have the blue pop against the rest of the tones. I've been really realizing lately that when I lean towards neutral to warm shades on my complexion, it just really suits me the best. Not that I can't wear cool tones, but my eyes are a very cool tone color. So sometimes it can be really fun to have that warm complexion, but then this pop of coolness on the eyes, especially because I do love cool shimmers. So I always encourage people to channel, reject the strictness of some of the color theory recommendations in that, you know, combine warm and cool. It can be very, very impactful. And then lately what I've also been enjoying is just creating dimension from a single shade. So this is one eyeshadow shade, but we can build it up more in the crease. Just like working in a motion that's kind of more like stippling. And then blend from there. Then I'm going to take this shade here, darker brown, called Tasteful. This is an interesting type of brush. It's kind of like a tiny, tiny paddle brush or so, but I like it for getting in at the root of the lash and it being a little bit smokier than, say, using like a pencil brush. So I am going to add some depth right here at the lash line. And I'm going to extend that down just a touch. Not quite a wing. Now I'm going to use this lighter brown called Sophisticated, and I'm gonna layer that right on top of that to blend it out some more. Look who just crawled up to me. Talk about an emotional boy. I'm surprised. I mean, he might have some Cancer placements because he's very emotional, very sensitive, very much in need of a protective shell. Whenever I do this soft, almost wing, I always have this temptation to like sharpen it up. But I just realized why. Who says it's not gonna look good if it's softened? And that's the lesson of Cancer, isn't it? So I'm just gonna leave it as it is, kind of smudgy, not perfect. And I'm gonna take this liner from Urban Decay that's called Cool Coyote. No, it's not. It's called Tootsie. And I'm gonna get this up at the upper waterline just to really emphasize that kind of heavier lash line. Time for the blue. I'm going to use a little bit of glitter glue. Place that right at the center there. And I'm going to go in with Expensive first, the more iridescent shade, before I consider if I want to deepen it at all. This kind of looking like a more purple, like my nails almost, which works just fine too. Just going to place that. Ooh, pretty. Isn't that interesting how it looks in contrast with the brown? I love it. And actually it is showing up a little bit more purple than I thought. It's a multi-chrome or a duochrome, so like some lights, it looks a little more blue. Guys, it's literally my nail shade. This is Crystal from What's Up Beauty. Oh, I'm obsessed. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of Exquisite in. Just a little to add a touch of blue as well. So it's like blue and purple. See that? I love it. And then I'm gonna take my pinky and do my oh so favorite eyeshadow placement, which of course suits Cancer because of the idea of this emotional quality and like tears. And I find this just like resembles tears in a way, like beautiful, sparkly tears. Okay, I'm gonna pop off, do my lashes, and we'll see how this look has all come together. And if I want to do any finishing touches or if this is where it's at. Right now, I'm really loving this. So I will be one moment. All right, here's the look with lashes. And I did pop a little bit of a brightening shade on the lower lash line. So we have this, or sorry, the lower waterline. So there's kind of this contrast between some, you know, darker shading and then this brightened lower lash line in general. The last thing I want to do is just like a touch of highlighter. This is from Flower Nose. It's the Little Angel highlighter, Enchanting Anthem. And I think the silvery soft highlighter will go well with this. Just a little bit there and there. I'm loving this look. This is so my vibe lately. Like just something that doesn't feel too dark, but still is like a lot of makeup and still having fun with makeup. It's just, I don't know. I've just been loving this kind of energy lately. And I just love how that purpley blue, it does stand out against the rest of the look. It's like this really interesting little pop happening. Now, as promised, I have not forgotten to dim the lights just to see if we can get a better look at the shimmer. And here's the shimmer in lower lighting. All right, friends, that's it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed this exploration as much as I did. It was really fun, and I'm really excited to go out with this makeup look today. And normally I call Toasty to me, but he is right here because he is having an emotional Cancer day. He had to go to the vet earlier for blood work, and he's not been himself since. Thank you so much to everybody who sticks it out till the end. I always like to let you guys know that doing so really helps support the channel, really helps with that thing we call the algorithm. And if you want to check out my Patreon, link down below for bonus content, or like, comment, and subscribe. I always appreciate it. And if you were really drawn to a makeup product I use, I always link everything down below, and shopping through those links sometimes helps me earn a small commission, which helps support the channel. So only shop if you really want something. I always encourage mindful shopping, but just need to leave that as a note there because I have forgotten to mention it for like the year and a half I've had my channel, and then recently I'm like, I should probably let people know. All right, thank you so much, and until next time, may you all find yourselves a little bit of makeup magic, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, witches.